The first principle of the Kabbalion is all is mind. The universe is mental. This is also known as the first of the seven Hermetic laws. Today's video is inspired by spiritual royalty. And thank you, my friend, for leaving a comment the other day because in the preparation for today's video, I kept getting nudged to go take a look at the first video I posted a little over 2 years ago. And I was reminded of how far I have truly come, but this brings this channel full circle back to that very video. So today we are going to be talking about the first principle in the Kabbalion, and that is mentalism. And I'm going to share with all of you some motivational things that have helped me along the way to stay posting and to stay in a creative mindset, and the daily ups and downs that we experience, but to keep a optimistic mind, meaning long term, the future is bright, and not to get stuck in the day-to-day lows of those waves, right? My clothing brand is called Hypno Waves, and there is a reason for that, because the stage name that I went by for so many years was DJ Hypnotic. So the hypnosis, right? I started to learn how to use that in my advantage through affirmations. And I've said this before on my channel, using headphones, sitting here with a mic and talking to myself. But one of the things that I did along that process was to create the affirmations as in, I believe I am, I know I am. And something strange started to happen. For the first time, I was hearing myself, and for the first time, I was seeing myself. And I started to believe that I could. I started to believe that it was possible. And that eventually led me to actually truly, deeply believe that anything is possible. This is further credence to all is mind, the universe is mental. And also it ties in with imagination, as we will discover later. So let's dive right into the first principle, and I'll put some graphics on the screen so you won't have to watch me look down and read this. The fundamental principle of Hermeticism is outlined in the Kabbalion. It is the principle of mentalism. It is deceptively simple, yet a profound concept. The all is mind. The universe is mental. This single law serves as the bedrock for all Hermetic philosophy and provides a powerful framework for understanding not only the nature of reality, but also the immense power that our minds hold. At its core, the principle of mentalism is the ultimate reality. The all is a universal, living mind. It is not a physical substance, but a state of consciousness from which all things emanate. The physical universe, with its galaxies, planets, and subatomic particles, is not a solid, independent entity. Rather, it is a mental creation within the universal mind. There are three profound implications to understanding of the mind. Number one, our minds are fragments of the universal mind. If the all is mind, then our individual minds are not separate or isolated. This is why Jesus said, I and my Father are one. They are, in essence, smaller expressions of cells. Wow, they are smaller expressions of cells. When you go out in the sunlight and it increases serotonin, it also increases the cell strength from one cell to the next inside of the human body. This is coming straight from the sun. So it makes perfect sense why Jesus would say, I and my Father are one, and also that the universal mind, we are all connected yet individual. Much like the rays that come off of the sun, they are still coming from the same source, yet they appear as individual rays by degrees of separation. Also, the sun is round. Radius Ra. You get that from Egypt. So let's get back to it. This means that our minds are fundamentally connected to and participate in the fabric of reality. The thoughts we think are not confined to our skulls. They are expressions within the mental universe. This is a radical departure from the materialistic view, where the mind is merely an emergent property of the brain. Number two, the mind is not a receiver but a projector. Many people view the mind as a sort of antenna, passively receiving signals from the external reality. However, the Hermetic view flips this. Our minds are actively participating in the creation of your personal reality. Now, personal reality. I heard Dr. Joe Dispenza say this one time before. Your personality creates your personal reality. Very interesting. The Kabbalion states that the mental nature of the universe means that thoughts are the building blocks of reality. A sustained mental image, a deep-seated belief, or a powerful emotion is not just an internal experience. It is a creative act that shapes the world we perceive and inhabit. Now think about this for just a minute. Sunlight coming into the eyes is converted into matter, right? So we are taking electrical signals, photons, and it is entering into the black hole of the human eye, and then it is converted into matter inside of the head and the rest of the body. But from that point, we are able to affect matter with our own matter, right? So matter affecting matter. Very interesting how that works. And to really touch off on the projector aspect, it is very much true. We assign value or likes or dislikes to things that we perceive in the outside world, so that comes from us. And I've heard a lot of people talk about the projector screen within the mind, and I'll put an image on the screen for you to help give a visual aid for what I'm really saying here. So the observer effect, which is a little bit different than what we were discussing here today, is to observe your thoughts without reacting to them or before you assign a feeling or emotion to it. You can best understand this with people who are really reactive and impulsive. They will speak before they even think about what they are saying, oftentimes putting their foot in their mouth or making their situation worse because they can't zip it long enough to really understand what is being said to them. I find this to be very enlightening. Number three, mind is the master, not the servant. I told someone about 2 years ago that the master was coming out. Yes, I was going through an awakening, but I was not really aware of what was happening. I was going through a transformation, and very interesting. The mind is the master, not the servant. You may have heard this saying before. You can't serve two masters, meaning light and dark, the light and dark aspect that this whole planet has lived by, right? In religion, it is the devil and Jesus or God, the aspects of light and dark, good and bad. It's all right there in front of us. The principle of mentalism places the mind in the position of supreme authority over matter and circumstances. Since the universe is mental, a change in one's mental state is the most direct and most powerful way to effect change in one's physical world. It is not magical thinking. It is recognition of the fundamental hierarchy of the universe. To change one's reality, one must first master their mind, for it is the master of all that is. This leads us directly to the second part of this exploration of mentalism. Part 2 is about the Hermetic secrets of staying motivated. However, through the lens of the principle of mentalism, motivation is not an external stimulus, but an internal state of being, a deliberate act of mental creation. Applying Law 1 to motivation transforms it from struggle against apathy into a conscious practice of mind mastery. Very interesting. So I just want to stop here for just a minute and talk about motivation, because one of the biggest things, and I will be completely brutally honest with everyone who is listening to me right now. When it comes to motivation, the things that you do not want to do is where you will find that motivation. Once you force yourself to do something that you want to do, but you don't feel like doing, it becomes easier. And the more you create that pattern of doing those things that you want, but you don't want to do, the more you get that ball rolling. And sooner or later, when you turn around, just like that video from 2 years ago, you see how far you have come, and then you feel more inspired to keep going. And when others see you breaking those patterns and setting new ones, and others see you achieving the things that you have been talking about, and you're finally making headway, guess what? You start to inspire them also. And when they start to let you know, like, hey, I'm really inspired by you, it is starting to become a self fulfilling prophecy. And that motivation becomes easier and easier and easier. Sure, not every day is going to be perfect. You're going to have a few bad days. And the key here, guys, I've talked about this a lot on my channel, is to not drop an anchor on that mistake. The moment you drop an anchor on that mistake, guess what? Ever how long that rope is going to be just like a dog on a leash, right? Metaphor. You can only go so far before the tension on that rope stops you in the flow of things. So if we use that analogy of an anchor, try not to drop anchors where you make mistakes. You're going to make mistakes. Life is not perfect. The more that you can practice doing the things you don't want to do and not allowing yourself to get stuck on those mistakes, the more you are going to be going in the flow and really getting closer and closer to what it is that you desire in your life. Here are 3 tips for mental motivation. The power of mental visualization, the mental image of imagination. According to Law 1, the universe is mental. Then perhaps a vivid, sustained mental image of a desired outcome is the first and most crucial step to manifestation. When I say mental, we are also talking about imagination. The I in imagination is the same as the mind's eye. The first letter of imagination is I. I am. I magi. Magi is 3. Very interesting. We'll get to that in just a minute. Motivation is often a struggle because the desired outcome feels distant and unreal. The Hermetic approach is to make it real in the mind first. Make it real in your imagination. Spend time each day not just thinking about your goal, but living it in your imagination. This ties in directly to Neville Goddard's work, and I promise you guys, I'm getting there, and I'm starting to feel a radiation of chills. See yourself completing the task. Feel the satisfaction of success and experience the emotions associated with achieving the desired outcome. This isn't just a feel-good exercise. It is a creative act that aligns your subconscious mind with your conscious intention, thereby mentally projecting your desired reality. This sustained mental work creates an inner pull that naturally draws you towards action, making motivation less of a pull and more of a magnetic force. Number 2, transmutation of mental states. This takes us to the principle of vibration, which is another one of the laws. The principle of mentalism is directly linked to the second Hermetic law, the principle of vibration. This law states that everything is in motion and nothing rests. Everything vibrates. Negative mental states like doubt, procrastination, or apathy are simply lower vibrations of the mind. The Hermetic student understands that you cannot fight a negative vibration directly. You must transmute it into a higher, more positive one, a higher state of consciousness, to aim higher with your thinking. Ooh. This means that when you feel unmotivated, you don't berate yourself, don't beat up yourself, and don't try to force a feeling. Instead, you consciously shift your mental state. This can be done through focusing on gratitude, actively thinking about what you are thankful for it will raise your mental vibration. Guys, I want to stop right here for just a minute. Focusing on gratitude and actively thinking about what you are thankful for is much like prayer. Now, when I was being brought up, I never really understood how to pray, and I struggled with it. The moment I tried to pray, I would pray to Jesus, and I would start to pray. My mind would just shoot off, and it was like a dog chasing a bone. What I learned was to pray ahead of the event. I am grateful for this. It may not be in my immediate environment, but I am so happy and grateful for it, even though it is not existing yet, because I can feel it internally. I can see it in my imagination. And therefore, to my body, my brain does not know the difference in what is real and what is not. Because the truth of the matter is, my five sensory input is experiencing it right now in the here and now as very much real. This is very much key to changing the chemical makeup in the body, using that mind to send those electrical impulses down into the body and start to affect those cells which are vibrating. You change that vibration of those cells, and then the response comes back up. As it turns out, this is also the law of correspondence, which is another one of the Hermetic laws. Now, I wasn't intending on covering all 7 of the laws, but the law of correspondence really fits here, because what is above is also a below, and what is below is also above. So when you send those signals down mentally, thinking about the good things, you change the vibration and you get a response from the body. Very, very interesting indeed. Positive affirmations, again, stating I am capable or I am making progress, despite feeling otherwise, is a deliberate act of creating a higher mental state. Controlling your inner dialogue is key here, guys. Become a vigilant gatekeeper of your thoughts. Replace a thought like, I'll never get this done, with a more constructive, higher vibration thought. I will take this step, even if it is a small one, today. This involves things like mindfulness, observing the feelings of apathy without judgment. I said this a while ago, the observer effect. When we start to pay attention, we are taking our mental energy and we are placing it on something. For example, as I'm reading this paper, mentally I am putting my energy onto the words of this page. And despite what I may be feeling or not feeling at any given time, that is also part of the projection. So when we go out in public and we say, I like this, or I don't like this, or I hate this, or I love that, it is a projection of our state of being, the emotional state, as Neville Goddard calls it. We filter our reality through our emotions because we are projecting that onto the universe. And yes, I struggled with this in the beginning for a little while because I started to understand it, but I also started to question myself, because when I would talk to other people in my immediate close circle of people, they didn't know what the hell I was talking about. So, yes, all of this is very much not just plausible, but it makes a lot of sense once you spend some time thinking about it. So, last thing I want to do is tie in some of Neville Goddard's work, because this is very, very interesting. And that video from 2 years ago was about the awakening imagination. It really does come full circle here, guys. The principle of mentalism is not an abstract metaphysical idea, but a practical tool for living. It places the power of creation squarely in the hands of the individual, providing a profound sense of agency. By internalizing that the all is mine, we recognize that our thoughts, beliefs, And emotional states are not passive responses to reality, but active creators of it. That makes you a co creator with the universe, a co creator with the creator. I and my Father are one. The serotonin increases the signal in my body. And because that signal strength has been increased, when I send the signals down from those electrical impulses down to the body, the response is much faster. I and my Father are one. Very, very interesting. So here we go. We're going to tie in some of Neville Goddard's work right here. The principle of mentalism from Hermeticism at its core is a philosophical foundation. It is also closely tied to Neville Goddard's teachings on the awakened imagination. Both systems assert that conscious is the sole reality and that the physical world is a reflection of our internal mental state. Here's how they relate. The universe as a mental creation, which is the first law of the Hermetics. In Neville Goddard's work, it echoes this by stating that the human imagination is the creative power, which he identifies as God. He argues that the external world is a direct reflection of the inner state of being, with all events and circumstances being the fruit bearing witness of our use or misuse of imagination. As within, so without. This Hermetic axiom is the central theme of Goddard's work. He teaches that to change the external world, you must first change the internal world. This is achieved by the awakened imagination, a conscious and deliberate use of the mind to create the desired reality rather than struggling to change external factors. One assumes the feeling of the wish fulfilled as if it is already reality. Now it makes a lot of sense. The wish fulfilled, when Neville Goddard says to live from the end, to feel that emotional state, to feel. We think of feelings as F-E-E-L, but to feel, let's fill a balloon with L. We spell that F-I-L-L. So let's fill the body in the present moment with the desired state. And that is as what Neville Goddard calls living in the end. Live from the end. The longer we can sustain that feeling and hold that imagination, that mental image in our mind's eye, the stronger we generate a charge, the more we magnetize that reality to come into our orbit. It's all universal understanding. The power of feeling and assumption. Goddard emphasizes that is not just about a fleeting thought, but a sustained feeling of assumption. I just said that. This aligns with the Hermetic idea of mental transmutation, the ability to change one's mental state from a lower vibration of, say, doubt or fear, for example, to a higher, more aligned one of confidence and gratitude. By assuming the feeling of the wish fulfilled and persisting on that assumption, even if it seems false to the senses, and by senses, that is the five sensory input, one impresses the subconscious mind, as Neville calls it, the womb of creation, with the new reality, which then must harden into fact. This perspective transforms the concept of motivation. It's no longer about finding the willpower to push against static external reality, but the conscious act of aligning oneself to the internal world of the desired outcome. This motivation comes with the realization that you have the power to create the reality through mastery of your own mind. Guys, I really appreciate every one of you if you're still listening to me right now. This journey on this channel has been nothing short of amazing, and I want to really share this with you all, and I'm not looking for sympathy here. I've done this alone. Like, from that very first video 2 years ago to today, I've done this alone, and I've sat in a corner at my day job, which is anonymous. There's this, you know, that's irrelevant where I work, but I've sat in a corner alone, and I come home and I'm alone. I go to work and I'm alone, and I come home and I'm alone. I've been growing this channel. I started a clothing brand, and I've been building that platform on Shopify and connecting it to all these other social media outlets to start growing Hypno Waves as a brand. I have created multiple streams of income for myself because I don't watch TV. I don't go out and party. Yes, I'm a DJ, but you know, I learned many years ago that I had to get out of the club scene because I could not be working in a club scene and not have a drink. I mean, heck, people bring you drinks all the time. So the influences of those environments meant that I was also intoxicating my mind with external things of the outside world. But it's about love and hate and the transforming power that they hold. Love and hate have a magical transforming power, and we grow through their exercise into the likeness of what we contemplate. By the intensity of hatred, we create in ourselves the character we imagine our enemies to be. Now, think about this for just a second. We create in ourselves the enemy we imagine. We are projecting onto another that they are our enemy, when in all actuality, they are not, because we have hatred in our heart, and that is bubbling up, right? Law of correspondence, as above, so below. If we have hatred in our heart, it is bubbling up, we are projecting it outward, and we are creating an enemy that is a reflection of ourselves. I've heard people talk about healing from their father wounds, where men are just so angry. And for some reason, this came from a fighter that was so angry, and they said that all the people he fought, he was never really fighting another person. He was fighting his father because internally he felt abandoned. Internally he was filled with trauma and hatred and all of these emotions that he did not know how to handle, and therefore he projected that onto the opponent. And in the end, it was really that concept that he was fighting against. Qualities die for want of attention. So the unlovely states might be best rubbed out by imagining beauty for ashes and joy for mourning, rather than direct attacks on the state from which you wish to be free from. If you want to be free from hatred, you have to change internally. Because if you still are holding hatred in your heart, you are still going to be projecting that outward and getting the reflection, the correspondence of that. Ooh, man, it's so interesting. Whatsoever things are lovely and good report, think of these things, for we become that which we are in report for. There is nothing to change but our concept of self. As soon as we succeed in transforming self, our world will dissolve and reshape itself in harmony with that which we change affirms. And with that, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Thank you very much.